Well, now, here with me, I'm going to share with you 4 assets that you must have 10 years from now. And guess what? Probably may not be the 10 years from now. Some of you can achieve it in 5 years. Some of you 10. Some of you 20. Some of you 30. Are we together? Now, the point is this. Some of you even think that you cannot even achieve them. The point is this. It's possible, can be done, has ever been done before. So I'm going to share with you bit by bit, step by step, and I'm going to have myself here with a phone. I've written all those assets that you must have them in a 10 years period of time. And make sure that you do this. Subscribe. Why? Because I post a video each and every day. Make sure that you like. Why? Because once you like this video, more of this will be suggested to you. And again, we're going to bring more people on this particular point. And of course, the third one, leave a comment section, a comment on the comment section. Why? Because it is good, me and you, we interact and we share our mind. All right, let's get into the business now. And by the way, guess what? I'm going to save the best for the last. Stick around. The fifth one, or rather the fourth one, is the best to be, or have it out there. Now, here we are. Now, what I talk about the asset, of course, P&D, we know that the asset keep or put money into our pocket. Are we together? Okay. Now, the very first asset that I would highly recommend that you have it, especially when you're starting up in life, because probably you may not have a lot of money, but if you start with something called the soft assets, yeah, the soft assets. What are these soft assets, and how soft are they? Anyway, the soft asset, simply here we mean this asset that you are not tangible. You cannot touch them. You get what I'm saying, okay? These soft assets, examples of these soft assets, we can talk about MMF. Yeah, I know. I knew, Joseph, you're going to talk about MMF. Yes, I'm going to talk about it. Things to do with the bills, things to do with bonds, things to do with things like, rate, things to do with index fund, index fund, okay? Things to do with equity fund, bond. We have a lot of them. Are we together? All these are soft assets. You cannot have them. You cannot touch them. Okay? Well, of course, you can see how much you have in terms of the portfolio, but you cannot touch them. So all these ones are soft assets. Why have I started with this? Because for example, if today I tell you go buy or go build some real estate, go build a story building somewhere, not most of you, some of you, yes, who are watching, you can, but not most of you guys will afford to actually go ahead and do that particular thing. But when I say money market fund, and you can start with as low as 100 Kenyan shillings, so almost everybody is qualifying for this particular thing. So you never feel like you're being left behind. For example, let's say you love real estate a lot, and you don't have the millions and millions of money to get started, because real estate, it's a capital intensive engagement, and you get yourself into something like REITs, real estate investment trust. This is when you buy the shares of the companies that build real estate and actually rent them out and what have you. So the moment you buy shares of such companies, of course, you've become I was about to say a landlord. You get yourself into what we call the real estate earnings. You have yourself the real estate with you. But it's a virtual one, it's still a soft one, but it's a real estate. What do I mean by rates? I made a whole video dedicating to it about the rates. You can go check it out and understand what the rates mean. Now, let's say you have yourself like a million bob. Well, a million bob, really, a million shilling, that can't really, that's like a 10,000 USD. That really can't get you into the real estate, like physically, unless maybe you buy yourself a piece of land somewhere, quite of an interior, far, a little bit far from the cities and towns, when I'm referring to Kenya, when I say that. Of course, you can actually decide, hey, let me get that amount of money, throw it in bills, maybe for a whole year, I get that percentage. I throw it in this government securities and what have you. I can throw that money, say, into equity fund or maybe balance fund or bond fund or what have you, and be able to make some cash as I move forward, as I look more money to actually invest, and such kind of a thing. So you get what I'm saying. So with that kind of an understanding, soft assets becomes the easiest thing that you can ever start with when you're growing. And by the way, if you've realized, most of what I talk about on this particular channel is about the soft assets. How can you access them? And by the way, if you ask me, who are my target clients, who are my target people whom I talk to, is everybody and anybody who is conscious about making money, saving, and growing themselves to the next level. Those are the guys whom I target. Okay, provided you're above the legal age and you can be able to make yourself some cash and you can be able to save and invest by yourself. That is it. You are my target. You are the people whom I actually work with, and you are the people whom I usually make these videos for. And for example, I made a video and I told you guys, if you're a student, you can pick any. For students, I would highly recommend get yourself in something like MMF and stocks. Actually, I'd even include stocks here. You can just see how long that list can be. Shares. Kenya, we call them shares. If you're in America, you can call them stocks. If you say you come from Britain or whatever the place is, they call them equities. So buy those equities and MMF and continuously feed that particular beast. In within period of time, then you're going to have yourself something at the end of the day. Are we together? That is exactly what I'm talking about when I say soft asset. Any questions on the soft asset? If there is any question, please put it on the comment section. Say, hey, I didn't understand what you meant by the soft asset. I don't mind to come back here and make this video to explain more. But soft asset is that thing that you do not have out there. Now, the other asset that I actually recommend that you still have it is an asset called the CF assets. Okay. Asset. What do I mean by this? This is cash flow. Cash flow. Okay. Listen, when you're starting and we are ending in life. By the way, I don't know whether you know this. Do you know in life we end as we started? You started by being helped and you end by being helped. So the point remains that when you're starting and when you're ending, you really need cash flow. What is cash flow? Cash flow is this continuous influx of money into your pocket from the asset that you have invested. Rather than just having an asset somewhere does not generate anything. Well, you just believe it's appreciating in price, but it's not putting money in your pocket. Do you understand what I'm talking about? And this is why I always tell people, especially if you are old and you maybe say you are about to go to retirement, please don't end up with just assets that are not generating anything. Don't be asset rich but cash poor. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So it is good to make sure that you have assets that are generating cash flow. And examples of all these are cash flow generating. For instance, this one generates per month, this one generates semi-annually, the same, this one generates after semi-annually, of course, this one equities and whatever they generate annually. So the point is end with assets that are generating cash flow. Sometimes I don't feel okay. I said I did not say it should be. I said I don't feel okay and right when I see young people going and buying lands. I don't know how that interior place, they buy that land at 50,000 or 100,000 and then you come back to the city and that 100,000 could have bought you some things, or maybe you could have gotten yourself into the business. You know, it's good to understand when you need investment and when you need the business. You know, people don't understand those two things. It's like somebody approaches you with 10,000. They ask you or they tell you it's the only money that they have. Where should I invest? Because I really need to pay bills like tomorrow morning. And then you tell them, go buy money market fund, go invest on stocks. You've lost that individual. These things don't even give you like money within a click of a button. And if they do, they don't give a huge chunk of cash. And that's why they call investment. Because why? They have low risk, low income, or low returns. So, but when you do not have the cash, when you do not have the cash flow, what you're supposed to focus on is things that are generating money. And once you accumulate, if you're in the accumulation phase, there's something called the accumulation phase. Once you accumulate, raise it to a substantive amount of money. Because on a very serious note, I love to be sincere. This kind of investments make sense when you have a quite of a presentable amount of money. Are we together? So when you accumulate, then you can throw it into these soft kind of things. But when you're actually struggling, don't get that 100,000, go buy. I don't want to mention the place, but Kenyans know what I'm talking about. You know, certain land is being sold somewhere interior. By the way, when you're buying that land, you think like you are the investor. No, you're not the investor. Those who are selling you are the investor. Why? Because they go to that particular place, they buy that 10 acres, say for £1,000,000, and then they subdivide that particular land by 50 by 100, and then they have the ultimate time. In 3 years' time, we're gonna liquidate all this particular land. Out of the million that we made, we're gonna make ourselves 2 million or 3 million or whatever the amount of money it is. And then they're the one who are investing. You are just prospecting on the land banking. You buy that particular land. You don't even have a time frame. When can you even sell it? You see, whenever you do something, you need to have the time frame. You need to have the understanding. Why am I buying it? I'm buying this land because in 3 years' time I want to build a home. That's totally different. But when you just speculate, the fear of missing out, you just buy that land, it's not even working for you. And then there you are, you have a land far somewhere resting. And I know this is a very emotive issue. And if I continue with that rabbit hole, I know you guys, you can roast me on the comment section, because most of you people, you are never ready to unlearn, to relearn. You are not. That's what you believe, that you've been fed since you are young. You cannot shake it off. It's still there. It is still there. And that's why I always tell people, you can never create wealth backward. Allow me to explain this a little bit. You know, it's very hard to even inspire your parents to make money. It's hard. But it's easier to even inspire your siblings, the brothers and the sisters. You cannot make wealth backward, because you need to do away with that software. It's very hard to do away with that particular software. That's why let me not go there. Now, the other asset that I highly recommend that you have it in 10 years' time from now, it's none other than having an asset called the skill asset. The skill asset. Yeah, I know most of you guys tend to think like asset can only be something that you can see or whatever, whatever. Do you know even the skills are assets? It's an asset. For example, let's say you are an at what? Architecture. And there are these people who do what we call the caricature, you know. Is it caricature or caricature or whatever? These guys who they let me use the very normal layman's language. These people who draw you, maybe say in the airports, you know, you show up, they are seated somewhere, and then they draw you. It's called caricature, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's an asset. Maybe they charge you or something of sort, or maybe let's say you're an artist. Let me say, maybe you're a good interior designer, graphic designer. You can do web designing. You can do whatever. See, if you can be able to, that's a skill asset. That's an asset that you have. And by the way, if there is a very nice and sweet skill that you can never have in life, is that skill asset, because it'll never get out of you. Still gonna be with you all the time. By the way, I would say like that's like an 100% investment, because it's gonna be with you all the time. So skill assets, an asset that I would highly recommend that you guys have it with you. Okay, learn about something. By the way, let me tell you one secret. Where we are right now, we are in the era of information. We are in the era whereby data is important. People are trading data. How many times have you seen this great person by the name Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of the Meta, being grilled in the Senate in the US? You know, being asked questions or explain, is the data of the people important? I mean, is it safe? Is whatever? And he explains and explains. I remember there was something called the Cambridge Analytica, and was explaining how, for those who follow news, understand what I'm talking. Okay, fine, that one may be a bit earlier. Then have you seen the CEO of TikTok being grilled in the Senate? And then the fight was all about data. Where is the data? Is American people data safe and what have you? Because we're in the era of information. And when I tell you, if you are a young individual, you are at 21, you are at 19, you are at 23, you even at 30, you don't even have any skill. You just rely on what you are told in university. You are a teacher. That's the only thing that you trade. That's the only thing that makes you money. Get a new skill. And by the way, if you and when I say skill, people tend to think like you have to go to college. No, please get that mentality off. I told somebody you can go to Udemy, buy a skill, and learn that particular skill, like video editing. You can learn that. What do you call it? Web designing. And guess what? The person asked me, will they give me the certificate? You see, some of you, I feel like I can grab you and it's not really, you don't reason like that. Why would you think like you have to confine your knowledge and skills in a paper? Why do you even need a paper? If you can get the work done, who cares about the paper? I think it is Tesla was saying, I don't know whether it's Tesla or Microsoft. That is the one of the big companies in America. They say degree is not necessary nowadays for us to employ people. Just can you get the work done? Of course, within our budget. Fine, we are good to go. Let's go. Please, let's get off this traditional kind of view things like I have to get a certificate. If I show up with that certificate. Anyway, the fourth asset that I would highly recommend you have it, the asset called the social skills asset. Social asset. Let me just call it the social asset. By the way, let me tell you one secret. You can get all the wealth, you can get all the money, you can get the thing, but if you're poor at this, socially, you're not even sociable. You're this kind of an individual, you're hated by people, not because you are so much focused, but you are rude, you are arrogant, you brag, you just, you're not social, you're just like an island. Invest on those social, that's an asset. Being social, integrity. If someone sends you money, you promise you're gonna do that. Do you do that? Integrity. Do you have the integrity? Social asset. Those are very things. And maybe probably I should even also include spiritual. Yeah, if you ask me, I would say you need to be a believer, attach and align yourself to something. Are we together? Now, social asset. Ain't gonna discuss much about it. You've gotten the point. And of course, I said I'm gonna save the best for the last. That is what you call the hard asset. Now, after going through all these systems, you've actually made yourself a substantive amount of money. Get into things like real estate. Okay, real estate. You can get yourself into the businesses, the productions, production, service industry, and whatever. Hard assets. This one, that's what the reason why I put it last. Of course, it is great, it is nice, it's the best, and of course, it needs a lot of money. Before you actually reach here, go through all these particular systems. This is where you get yourself some rentals to lease out there and what have you. So, hard assets, quite an amazing area to actually invest and get something out of it. So, that is it, guys. Well, if you do not know how to build all these assets, by the way, I have booklets on these things that I've actually written there. MMF, bills, bonds, what, all these booklets, I have them. Okay, and this will help you to actually actualize this one. How do you get this booklet? Simple. Get that number of mine from the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call or text on my WhatsApp. You're gonna get the booklet. It's only $280 a copy. See you in the next one.